My girlfriend had a psychotic break this year, and I've realized I've been silencing myself for years to keep her stable. Now I feel like I'm raising a partner instead of building a life with one, and I don't know how to ask her to finally grow up without destroying her. When we first started dating, I thought my girlfriend was the most hardworking person I'd ever met. She managed a chaotic food service job with ease, constantly on her feet, multitasking, charming customers. I admired her, truly. We'd both close late, exhausted, grab takeout, and fall asleep watching something stupid on Netflix. Life was simple. I was finishing college, and she always said once I graduated, she'd go back to school too. I believed her. She was smart, driven, and capable. I pictured us both building a future together, side by side. After I graduated, things slowed down. It took me nearly a year to find a stable job in my field. She was supportive, never made me feel bad about my slow start. But eventually, I landed a teaching position. It wasn't glamorous, but it was something. After my first year, I got offered a much better opportunity, a fully remote position that paid more than double. I took it. Since then, I've worked my ass off. I'm now one of the top performers at my company. 2 years in, 2 significant raises, 13% and 10%, and my managers trust me with high-level projects. It feels good, finally having stability. But the higher I climb, the more I feel the distance between where I am and where my girlfriend still is. She never went back to school. Every few months, she'd talk about it again. Maybe I'll take online classes, or maybe I'll look into nursing, but nothing ever happened. Instead, she kept switching jobs. She'd last a few months at one, then burn out, quit, and scramble for another. I tried to be patient. I really did. She struggled with anxiety and depression, and I've always tried to be understanding. Eventually, after one especially bad mental health spiral, she said she couldn't handle food service anymore. I told her to take a break. My family, and I even helped her find a remote job doing task-based work for $12 an hour. It wasn't much, but the flexibility helped. She could set her own hours, take breaks when needed. It was supposed to be temporary, a bridge to something better. That was 2 years ago. She's still there. Still making $12 an hour. Still trying to figure things out. And I'm not trying to sound cruel. I know everyone moves at their own pace, but it's hard not to feel frustrated. I'm carrying almost everything financially. Rent, bills, groceries, I cover the majority, and she contributes what she can, which isn't much. Every time I bring up her maybe finding a new job or going back to school, she gets defensive, says I'm pressuring her, or that I don't understand how hard it is. Sometimes I feel like I'm living 2 lives in one body. One where I'm pushing myself to the limit, constantly grinding, trying to make a future that feels stable and secure. And another where I'm just barely keeping it together, wondering if I'm the only one actually building toward that future at all. When I started this job, $75,000 felt like an impossible dream. I'd come from making minimum wage and praying I had enough left over after rent to grab a cheap dinner. Now, even with the raises, even after years of hard work, I feel almost just as broke. The numbers don't add up anymore. My girlfriend's income has gone down every year since we met. Last year, she made maybe $9,000 to $10,000, and I'm being generous with that estimate. Meanwhile, the cost of everything, rent, groceries, gas, insurance, has skyrocketed. And because she doesn't make much, I've taken on basically every bill except her car payment. I pay for rent, electricity, internet, streaming services, groceries, phone bills, and even most of our date nights. On paper, I make a good living. In reality, I'm scraping by. I've been trying to plan for our future, saving for a down payment on a house, thinking about marriage, trying to figure out if I could afford a ring that she'd actually love, but when I run the math, it never works out. Kids? Not even close to possible. I've been looking into going back to school myself, maybe taking night classes at a community college, so I can eventually get a master's and open new career doors. But I'm exhausted. I'm already working full-time, sometimes more than full-time, and handling every logistical part of our lives. It's not just the finances. It's the mental load. I handle all the life admin, paying bills, setting up appointments, handling car maintenance, keeping track of birthdays, planning meals, booking our trips. I try to do small, thoughtful things for her, setting up coffee for the morning, tidying up before she wakes, getting the shower ready, doing laundry, making sure the place feels calm and comfortable. I try to be the kind of partner I'd want to have. But lately it feels one-sided. 2 nights ago, I worked a 15-hour day. I was finishing a last-minute project for our executives to present to a high-profile client. I woke up at 6 a.m. to work out, study a bit of computer science to try to improve my skills, and then logged in for work. I didn't clock out until after 9 p.m. I was drained, mentally fried, but I still made sure our nightly routine was done. Coffee prepped, shower ready, the small details that make the next day smoother. She'd spent most of the day playing video games. She woke up around 1 p.m. When I finally sat down, trying not to just collapse into bed, she asked, "Did you get my pajamas?" I said, "No, I didn't know what you wanted to wear." She gave me this look. Maybe I imagined it, but it felt like annoyance. Like I'd somehow failed her by not doing one more thing. I stared at her, controller in hand, and for a second, something inside me just sank. Because that moment summed up everything. I don't want to keep score. I don't want to live in a relationship where every act of care feels transactional. But it's hard not to notice the imbalance when you're running on fumes and the person you love doesn't even seem to see it. I know she's struggled mentally. I know depression doesn't just switch off. But at what point does understanding become enabling? How long am I supposed to keep carrying both of us before I start to break under the weight? I don't need her to make as much money as I do. I don't care about that. What I need is effort, initiative, a partner who wants to build something with me, not just exist alongside me while I do all the heavy lifting. Lately, I've been thinking a lot about the future. My future, our future, and I can't shake this heavy feeling in my chest. It's like I'm running full speed toward a finish line, but I keep looking over my shoulder and realizing that I'm the only one moving. I feel like I have all these goals, these ambitions, these things I need to do before settling down, and she just doesn't. She says she wants to get married, have kids, and live in a beautiful home. And don't get me wrong, I want those things too. Deep down, that's what I'm working toward every day. But what's hard to swallow is the feeling that I'm the one expected to make it all happen. Like it's my job to build the foundation, pay for the walls, decorate the rooms, and hand her the keys when it's done. I don't feel like we're building a life together. I feel like I'm building a life for her. Every decision, every plan, every sacrifice I've made feels like it's been put on pause because we've been waiting for her to figure out what she wants. And I've been patient. For years, I've told myself, she just needs time. But time keeps passing, and it feels like my life is stuck in a holding pattern. I've wanted to travel before turning 30, to actually see more of the world than just my apartment and my desk. I've wanted to go back to school, get my master's, and merge my love for design with my growing interest in tech. I've wanted to get to a place where I could finally breathe financially, to not have to check my bank account 3 times before buying something or feel guilty for spending on myself. I wanted to have a few years where life didn't feel like a constant uphill battle. But that moment never came. Every time I try to plan for me, I end up planning around her. Around her indecision. Around her moods. Around her stagnation. It feels mean to say it, but sometimes it feels like I already have a dependent. I'm not trying to sound cruel. I love her, and I know she's gone through hard times. But emotionally and financially, I'm carrying the both of us. And when I even think about adding a child into the mix, it feels impossible. Like asking a single parent if they're ready to have another kid. That's what it feels like. I'm already parenting someone, and I haven't even started a family yet. And maybe that's what really scares me. I grew up watching my parents struggle. They had me young, right out of high school. They worked their asses off to give me what they could, but I saw the toll it took. The exhaustion in their faces, the arguments about money, the dreams that never made it past the someday stage. They were good people who tried their best, but I saw what it meant to live constantly on edge, to always be one unexpected expense away from disaster. I swore I'd do it differently, that I'd plan carefully, build stability, and give my future kids a better life. I thought waiting, saving, and being smart about it would make all the difference. But now I feel like I'm just following the same path, not because of circumstance, but because of choice. Because I love someone who doesn't seem to share that same urgency. I feel guilty, even writing that. It feels unkind to say that my girlfriend lacks drive. But it's what I see. I'm always the one pushing, to earn more, to grow more, to be more. And she's content to float. I don't expect her to be perfect or match me step for step, but I need her to walk beside me. Right now, I don't feel like she is. And it's draining me. Every day, I wake up thinking about the next goal, the next raise, the next class, the next step towards stability, and every night I go to bed wondering if I'm building a future for 2 people or just dragging someone along for the ride. I don't want to resent her. I don't want to look back one day and feel like I wasted my 20s trying to save someone who never wanted to save herself. But I'm starting to feel the cracks. I'm tired of pretending this weight doesn't feel heavy. I'm tired of being the only one carrying it. When my girlfriend and I first got together, I knew things wouldn't always be easy. She told me early on that she had trauma, things from her past that still affected her. I tried to be understanding. We had our share of fights, but I always reminded myself, she's been through things. Be patient. And I swallowed a lot of my own frustrations because I didn't want to make her feel worse. I wanted to be the person who made her feel safe, not the person who made her shut down. For a while, it worked. We had arguments, but I told myself that every couple fights, and that love meant sticking it out and working through it. But this year changed everything. She had what her therapist later called a psychotic break. It was one of the scariest experiences of my life. I didn't even recognize her for a while. The paranoia, the confusion, the way she seemed to detach from reality. It broke my heart to see her like that. The aftermath of it all left both of us shaken. Her therapist suggested she not live alone, that she needed to be around people for stability and safety. So I made a quick decision. We packed up everything and moved in with my parents. It was sudden, chaotic, even. I took on some debt to make it happen. It wasn't ideal, but at the time, I wasn't thinking about money. I just wanted her to be okay. But moving in with my parents, it changed things. It forced me to see parts of our relationship that I'd been able to avoid before. When you live alone as a couple, you can convince yourself that certain dynamics are normal, the silence after fights, the walking on eggshells, the emotional volatility. But when you're living around other people, you start to see just how off-balance things really are. I started to realize that a lot of what I had dismissed as trauma responses were actually just unhealthy patterns. Controlling, manipulative, or dismissive behavior that I had been making excuses for. I had been silencing myself, constantly censoring my thoughts, my feelings, even my physical reactions, just to keep the peace. This year, for the first time, I started speaking up. Not yelling, not fighting, just being honest. And it's been hard. One of the times I almost ended the relationship was after I told her something deeply personal. I told her that when we fought, or even when I could feel a fight coming, my Apple Watch would alert me about my heart rate. My body would literally start shaking. Tremors. Palpitations. Pure physical fear. I told her that's what our arguments had done to me, that I'd become scared of her reactions, scared to express myself. Instead of comforting me or acknowledging how hard that was to admit, she got angry. She turned it into a fight. That broke me. I remember feeling this hollow kind of exhaustion, like my soul had just given up. I ended things. But that night, she showed up. She camped outside my parents' house for hours, crying, begging to talk. Eventually, I went out to her. We talked for a long time, and I laid everything out, what needed to change, what I couldn't keep tolerating. She listened, and for the first time in a long time, something seemed to click. Since then, things have improved somewhat. We argue less, and when we do, it doesn't spiral the way it used to. But while the conflict part got better, everything else, the life part, the future part, stayed the same. And now, I'm starting to face a truth I've been avoiding. I think she's holding me back. I hate that thought. It makes me feel cruel. Because I do love her deeply. I care about her safety, her healing, her happiness. But at the same time, I can't ignore how heavy it all feels. I carry so much financially, emotionally, mentally, and I'm just so tired. Sometimes I think about what my life would feel like without this constant weight. What it would be like to wake up and not immediately feel responsible for someone else's stability. I wonder what goals I could chase, what dreams I could actually pursue if I wasn't the only one holding everything up. I don't want to leave her. I don't even know if I could. But I can't keep living like this, like my entire life has to revolve around managing someone else's well-being. I want to move forward. I want to build something, a career, a home, maybe a family one day. But I can't do it all on my own. And right now, it feels like I am. So I guess my question is, how do I ask her to grow up? To take responsibility for her own healing, her own stability, her own life? How do I tell her, I can't be the only adult in this relationship anymore?